Almost all the windows were dark. There usually weren't many people on the streets, even during the day. Now the village looked even more like a ghost town. All the villagers were having fun at the festival. The only thing I wanted was to clear things up with the Kagome as soon as possible. Have fun with that, bud. She was sitting out the window in her usual pose, looking out the empty street as had become accustomed to her. When I entered the room, she phlegmatically uttered without even turning to me. I thought to take my stuff and leave, except I have nowhere to go. A certain Russian poet once wrote that love's boat has smashed against the daily grind. Do you want it to be like that for us too? Nico-san, is the problem you leaving your dirty socks everywhere? Well, no, of course not. I sighed and carefully sat behind the table, with dirty dishes covering it. I just want you to understand why I did what I did. I would love to know. I would love for you to explain it, because, I'm struggling to think of anything, my guy. Why you deceived me and possibly exposed us to danger? Yeah. Well, let's not exaggerate. Himitsu isn't that kind of person. She just said she was going to go, call her father and take care of all this stuff involving you and Kagome. Are you sure about that? Well, go to her then. Why did you drag yourself here? Kagome sobbed. Alright, I'm sorry. I wanted to come closer and hug her, but something stopped me. Yeah, no, that was... Bro, don't go in for the hug right now. You will lose your life. For all, I hadn't told her about meeting Himitsu for a reason. That being, I expected exactly this kind of reaction. Sometimes what we call truth is a totally abstract concept. In the end, we all, or at least most of us, can see colors and tell red from green and blue. But in objective reality, they only differ by the length of each light wave. Everything else is just the perception of color treated by our brains. If we were to talk about a more complicated matter, such as human relationships, was there any such thing as a completely wrong or completely right side? However, Kagome clearly believed there was. Was I supposed to refrain from useless philosophizing and apologize, admit I was wrong? You were wrong. You were wrong. Yes. You can philosophize all you fucking want. You were wrong. Yeah, honestly, even if you weren't in this situation of being hiding from the authorities and, big corpo, to keep something hidden like that, yeah, that's fucking wrong. Or would I be better off sticking to my guns and trying to convince her that I hadn't hidden the truth out of any kind of malice? Homie, she doesn't give a fuck why you did it. The why isn't important. What matters is that you did do it. And that's all that matters. She doesn't give a fuck about the why, because in her mind, no why is going to justify it. No why could possibly justify it. Trying to convince her is one of, if not the dumbest fucking thing you can fucking do right now. Apologize or stand your ground. I'll tell you exactly where I sit after I save this game. Stand your ground. Fuck that. I'm sorry. I understand I did the wrong thing. I realize I should have told you about meeting Himitsu right away. I also realized that it put us in danger to a degree. To a degree. Kagome smirked and finally turned to me. Do you really think your excuses change anything? Well, shoot me if you want. I folded my hands in a praying gesture and stood on my knees. Maybe I should. She slowly stood up, walked to the wardrobe, opened it, and started taking her things out. What are you doing? Definitely hadn't expected this turn of events. But Kagome didn't answer, doing everything slowly, methodically, even provocatively carefully. Where are you even going this late at night? I asked, not even trying to hide my irritation. After that nice chat with your red-haired friend, I'm sure I can't stay here any longer. And where would we go? It's too late now, there are no trains. You can go to your friend, Nico-san. She lives nearby, right? I'm sure she'll be happy. Just hop it already. I grabbed Kagome's hand, but she didn't react at all, pretending I wasn't even there. An awkward silence descended upon us, because I didn't know what to do next, and she didn't seem to care at all. Meanwhile, I had heard joyful cheering outside, and likely drunken villagers returning from the festival. Nico-san, I understand I can't go anywhere right now, but I'll take the first train tomorrow. I let her go. You can come with me. God, but where? I haven't decided yet. I mean, she said you could come with her. So, I mean, I'd take that offer. If you're not gonna be able to convince her to stay, you go with her, homie. You don't stick around. I wasn't quite able to carry on this conversation, so I just left the room and went to wander into the street. Occasionally I passed by happy people returning to their homes. They smiled at me, and I would force out a smile in return. When I returned, Kagome had already gone to sleep. I decided to take counsel with my pillow and went to bed as well, having pulled my futon to the corner of the room. This evening had seemingly exhausted me completely, but I couldn't fall asleep for all the good in the world. Kagome lay quietly. I listened to the silence, but couldn't even hear her breathing. So the sudden encounter with Himitsu had ruined all my plans for a peaceful life that seemed to start to take shape. Because you fucked it up. Because you fucked it up. I couldn't really blame Kagome or believe she'd overreacted. Exactly. You fucked it up. You fucked it up. And I still don't understand. He's like, he was like, oh, but the why of why I did it. I still don't understand what his fucking reasoning was. I still don't get it. I still don't see what he had hoped to accomplish. I know if I told you you'd react like this, because it's something worth, reacting like that to. Like, oh, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to ruin your mood. Instead, I just fucking ruined everything else. Like, I know I'm like a broken record at this point. I know I am. Alright, I get it. But it's just so irritating. It's so irritating that this all could have been avoided. Y'all know me. Y'all know me. Mr. Honesty Policy. You know me. I'm Mr. Honesty Policy, right? So this shit is very fucking just doesn't make sense to me. Like, honestly, and I'm even fine with, like, letting a little white lie slide if it may get us to a better, if the intentions are right? But if the intentions are in a good place. But I'm just repeating shit I've already said before. Let's keep going. Excuse me. If it was any other person in Himitsu's place, a friend or stranger that could theoretically pose a threat to us, I would have been the first to rush and pack our suitcases. So are my attempts to justify Himitsu irrational? Even harmful? Yes! Yes. No hesitation, yes. Of course, it didn't necessarily mean she'd immediately run off and tell her father everything. She will eventually. Or report to the corporation. She probably won't report to the corpo, but, yeah, I have pretty solid faith in the fact that she's going to tell her dad. Because she believes that's what's going to bring you back. And of course, it didn't mean that we'd immediately be found, captured, tortured, or killed. But the number of assumptions was impermissibly high, exactly. Was I prepared to put Kagome at risk just to protect not even Himitsu? No, my belief in Himitsu's loyalty and common sense, exactly. The fact that it's taken everything blowing up in his face for him to be like, what I did was stupid. Like, ugh. I mean, yeah, hindsight's 20/20, bud, but fuck. So what if I would end up right when the risk of failure... So what if I would end up right when the risk of failure was so high? What the fuck? So what if I would end up right when... If Kagome wanted to leave, we had to leave in the morning. I tossed and turned for at least another hour. I was about to fall asleep when I suddenly heard unfamiliar voices downstairs. Someone seemed to be loudly arguing with the landlady in the lobby. I pushed myself up and listened in. It's hard to make out the details, but it seemed like the late guest spelled out my surname several times very clearly. Anakin. I froze as if that would save me from what was coming. How could they have gotten here so quickly? Even if Himitsu had run straight home, called her father, who immediately informed the corporation... No, there was no time to think. I shook Kagome a few times, but she wasn't in a hurry to wake up. Then I jerked her up from the futon. We've got to run now. What's happening, Miko-san? She looked somewhere past me with sleepy eyes. They've come for us. They're downstairs. Thank God we had all the essentials, documents, and money in a small bag in order to ensure swift escape if we needed. I would hope there'd be no need for it, but life once again had other plans. Miko-san! Apparently Kagome finally started to understand what was happening. We're leaving. Quietly. We snuck on to the second staircase and took the back exit. It was our luck the old hotel had one. I only noticed that Kagome was still wearing her yukata once we got outside. She noticed my glance and frowned. It was so urgent that I couldn't even change my clothes. I'll tell you on the way. We're walking quickly, but not running, while trying to remain in the shadows. Even at night, the street was lit pretty brightly, though you wouldn't expect it. Nico-san! Kagome stopped and pulled her hand away from out of mine. One moment you don't want to leave, the next you wake me up in the middle of the night and drag me who knows where. Explain yourself. Quickly looked around, but noticed no one in pursuit. You're right. About Himitsu, you're right. I heard someone ask the landlady about me on the ground floor. About you? Kagome's face dropped. She finally understood how serious the situation was. I heard them say my surname a few times. I doubt it was just a courtesy visit. Whatever it was, I don't intend to stick around to find out what they need from me. It's painful for me to acknowledge that Himitsu really had turned us in. I was even more surprised by how quickly the corporation reacted. Did they have agents in every Japanese backwater or what? So they found us after all. She sighed in resignation. You can scold me later. Right now we need to get to the station and find out when the earliest train will be there. Maybe we'll go to the sea or... No, Nico-san. Kagome said quietly, lowering her head. What do you mean no? We aren't going to run and hide anymore. Then what are we going to do? I was confused. If they found us here, they'll find us anywhere. But it was Himitsu, you were right. It's not just about her. Do you really want to hide your entire life? Constantly looking over your shoulder, jumping at every rustling branch? Today you heard them in time. Tomorrow they'll capture us in our sleep. I can't live like this, and I don't want to. Then what should we do? What are you suggesting? We have to return to Tokyo. To Tokyo? I laughed and walked around Kagome a few times, like she was an exotic sculpture. Should we go straight to Kobayashi Corporation's building? Make their job easier? Huh, what do you think? Nico-san, I'm serious. I can see that. That's what scares me the most. We have to go back. If you don't have some secret plan, it's suicide. She remained quiet with her lips sealed and her gaze fixed on me. You don't, right? Kagome, are you hiding something from me? We're going to have this conversation again. We agree not to lie to each other anymore. I haven't lied to you, Nico-san. Well, you haven't been telling me something. What's the difference? I was mad beyond measure. Then tell me now. I'm listening. But Kagome clearly wasn't going to say a thing. Let's just resolve this problem at hand and get on the train. Then we can talk. You... I was still angry, but didn't know how to object to that. One way or another, getting out of here was currently our main task. It didn't matter where we'd be going, to the seaside or towards Tokyo. Fine, let's go. The earliest train was arriving at the station at 4 o'clock in the morning. We were silently standing on the platform, keeping a considerable distance from each other. Soon enough, the station master noticed us, came closer, and asked where we'd be going at such an early hour, and treated us with some hot tea. I was occasionally casting glances at the street, afraid that the people who came for us at the hotel would also be smart enough to check the station. But time was going by, and villagers were sleeping tightly and quietly, as usual, and no stranger was disturbing its peace. I couldn't imagine what exactly Kagome was hiding from me, but it had to be something important enough to become a reason for our return to Tokyo. Why was she only talking about it now? Why not before? I was trying to guess what it could be about, but nothing would come to mind. I only wanted to get somewhere warm and sleep. The train finally arrived, and I virtually stormed to the carriage, dragging Kagome along. Its few passengers were sleeping in different but equally uncomfortable poses. The thought that someone could be spending several hours to commute to Tokyo and the same time back every day frightened me. No matter how heavy the work was at the mine, it was at least close to the hotel where we lived. Kagome was sitting next to me and seemed to be completely detached from reality. I, in turn, was so tired that I couldn't concentrate on anything. Then I remembered. Why are we going back to Tokyo? So we're going back, just like you wanted. Will you tell me why now? Why what, Nico-san? Her words sounded much like a request to not continue this conversation. What have you been hiding from me? Omitting, call it whatever you want. Why are we going to the lair of our enemy, so to say, instead of running away? She remained silent, and I had no energy left to be angry. Kagome, do you not respect me at all? You are the wrong person to ask that, but alright. What makes you say that, Nico-san? She finally showed some interest. You're hiding something. Do you not trust, or are you afraid that I won't be able to handle the truth, or what? Wow, crazy how she could flip that question back on you. I'm always honest with you, after all. Oh, are you? Not that I had much to even hide if I wanted to. Is the treatment I get in response? The worst part is that I still don't know what's going on. What's so important that you're risking our relationship for it? Damn, crazy how all these questions can be flipped back. Nico-san, there's no need to be so dramatic. Dramatic? I laughed genuinely. And here I thought we should be treating Kobayashi Corporation more than seriously. Kagome sighed and lowered her head. Every one person has some things. Personal things. She was barely managing to pick the words. It was clear the conversation wasn't easy for her. Personal space, you know. I'm not trying to invade yours. God, what personal space can there be here? I exclaimed and flung my arms up in the air. You know, in prison, your personal space is at best a cot meter and a half by one. They sleep in futons in Japanese prisons. Kagome corrected me for some reason. It doesn't matter. It's even worse then. It's not what I'm talking about. Don't you feel sorry for me at all? I'm coming with you, but I have absolutely no idea what to be prepared for. Come on, put yourself in my shoes. You didn't like it when I didn't tell you about Himitsu. Fine, Nico-san. She suddenly turned away as if she noticed something important outside the window. I was about to peek over the horizon, the sky in the east lighting up with all the shades of pink, red, and yellow. Meeting the dawn after a sleepless night is completely different from waking up early. In the first case, you feel as if you're stuck in the past. The entire world prepares for the new day, awakens from its sleep and faces the sun, rested and refreshed. Meanwhile, you yawn and desperately try to keep your eyes open, surprised by the fact that the night had passed by so quickly. If you intend to share your secret with me before I sleep, you better hurry. Nico-san, I've never told you about my mother. She began in a tone that would make you think she was giving a boring lecture. She died from cancer, but before that we'd been living in Shirakan, living a pretty decent, comfortable life. I kept quiet and listened to her carefully. It's often considered polite among Japanese to react with some short cues during the conversation, thus indicating they are interested in what the other side is saying. But I kept quiet and listened to her carefully. I'd like to say that Mom had achieved everything on her own, but... Kagome sighed deeply and summoned her courage. She was Kobayashi Jun's daughter. You are fucking kidding me. That's why she has such a fucking grudge against Ellie. That's why in the ending where you free Ellie, Kagome doesn't get fucking nabbed. They're fucking sisters. Either A, they're sisters, or B, they're cousins, in case, you know, he had two daughters. But I'm pretty sure, like, it's trying to tell me they're sisters. That is not the fucking revelation I was expecting. Holy god damn. What? I understood the meaning of each separate word, but I couldn't quite link them together in my head, make them form a unit of information. When he was young, he had an affair with a maid. I see, okay. So, they're cousins. I see. So, this was like a bastard child that he didn't acknowledge. Gotcha. When he was young, he had an affair with a maid, and of course, an illegitimate child would have jeopardized his career. I wasn't supposed to know about it, but when my mother was dying, she decided to tell me the truth. How was I supposed to react to this? Perhaps if I'd been in Kagome's place, I wouldn't have spoken about this either. So what are you going to do? I'm tired of running away and hiding. If you care so much about one of his granddaughters, you have to show some respect to the other. Indeed, many things that I previously couldn't quite understand were starting to make sense. Suddenly, a very logical question came to mind. And Kobayashi Jun. Does he know? Mom told me he did. We hadn't been captured while waiting at the mailbox. Had been allowed to freely leave Tokyo. Okay. I suddenly recalled a plethora of other situations when we'd just gotten lucky. So it seemed that the old Kobayashi was protecting his second granddaughter after all, in his own way. This is too unexpected. I need time to digest something like this. Well, you do that, and I'll go to sleep. Kagome put her head on my shoulder and closed her eyes. What the fuck? A person's greatest fear is the unknown, and their greatest desire is control. We want to control the world around us to clearly indicate our place in it. We seek control over our relationships with other people, even those people themselves. We want to know our future, but we're frightened to take even the simplest actions to alter it. Humans didn't evolve to live in the world of absolute reality. We came up with the ideas of paradise, hell, reincarnation, to create the illusion of higher meaning. Every complex system strives to reach an equilibrium point, and so does a person. Meanwhile, the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics that is a part of the very foundation of the world, and as a consequence, a random, chaotic nature of our existence, doesn't let us accomplish that. By entering new, albeit uncertain variables into the system, we simplify the process of understanding with our limited human mind. They say that the stupider a person is, the more they believe in conspiracy theories. Indeed, it's much easier to shift the responsibility for the future of the world in general, and one's own destiny in particular, to the secret global government of Masons and lizard people. Then all the mistakes and problems that inevitably accompany each of us on the path of life can be explained by the actions of a certain agent, whoever it might be, just not the person themselves. It's scary to know that everything doesn't happen according to some clear, even if sinister, plan, but only thanks to the actions of people like you. Nobody in their right mind would take control over a nuclear reactor without having the required knowledge and experience. Humans evolved to trust their kinsmen. Trust is the basis of social interaction, and that, in turn, is the basis of survival. That's why we tend to attribute all the bad things not to chance, but to the machinations of evil imperialists / communists / foreigners and so on. Who could have guessed that a simple affair Kobayashi Jun had so many years ago would lead to such an outcome? That's why Kobayashi only ever brought up, even though Kagome was like in the lobby at the time, the only reason he ever brought up our boy Nikolai here. Yeah. God, yeah, it just, all the pieces fucking fall into place there, doesn't it? It's been a wild fucking ride, but that one plot twist just makes so many things make sense. Like, this whole time it's just like, oh, they got lucky, they got lucky, they got lucky. It wasn't luck. Oh, what a fucking twist. It hadn't been that long since we left Tokyo, but when I walked out onto the platform of the capital's railway station, it seemed to me that the city had changed. Maybe it was because it got noticeably colder than before. Winter was persistently knocking at the season's door. Of course, in this part of Japan, winters weren't as severe as in Russia, so the weather would be more or less the same for the next few months, maybe excluding a few rare frosts. We reached my district by the subway. Naturally, I wasn't going to go back home, but Kagome desperately wanted to see her grandfather. So we're in Tokyo again. What next? I have to save my dad. She came closer and looked me in the eyes pleadingly. Nico-san, I tried to live on, thinking it was all over that my father was gone. I clung on to you, my feelings for you. But it's not right. Even if it hadn't been for your red-haired friend, they would have found us sooner or later anyway. We can't hide from Kobayashi Corporation anywhere. And even if we could, do you really want to live your life like that? Yesterday you talked about children. Do you want our children to grow up in constant fear? I had nothing to say against her heartfelt monologue.